wonderful professors, and the best part of all is we don't have to take notes, we don't have to study anything, and we don't have to sweat out finals. And I don't know about you, but I don't miss that part of going to school. That said, I still like to learn, especially really the incredible advances and innovations that are going on here at USC. And thanks to our brilliant faculty and students. And I turned one page too many, and I apologize. And now please join me in a warm welcome to Patrick Auerbach, who almost all of you know, I suspect, our Associate Senior Vice President for Alumni Relations.
All right, good morning. Thank you, Jay. Thank you. Welcome, everybody. Welcome back to college. Welcome back to campus. It's so great to see so many faces. I think I was just talking to Diane Cobb in the back of the room. We're still working our way back out of the pandemic, but more and more we're seeing everybody back here, and it feels really great. I hope your day so far has been fabulous. We're keeping it nice and warm inside. We've got a dynamic program for you here today, featuring 3 USC faculty members who are contributing groundbreaking research, promising to make a positive impact on the world, today, tomorrow, and far, far into the future. Let's see here. Wow, these pages do stick together, because I'm about to do a Jay Berger here. They're really, there we go. Before we send you off to class, I first of all want to give a very special shout out to our Half Century Trojans Board of Directors for their faithful service and enthusiasm and their collaboration with my fantastic Alumni Association staff. I'd like to ask our Board of Directors members to please stand or wave so we could recognize you. Half Century Trojans Board of Directors, stand or wave. Thank you for all you do. For more than 70 years, the Half Century Trojans have been the stewards of USC's cherished traditions and ideals. You have helped make this university what it is today, and you continue to play a vital role in the life of USC as we reach new heights of innovation and scholarship. Last fall, more than 3,400 of the world's best and brightest students began their USC journey here on campus. The class of 2026 is one of the most academically gifted and diverse in recent memory. We are very proud of the fact that 20% of our first-year and transfer students are scions, keeping those Trojan family connections going from generation to generation. Additionally, 22% of our freshmen are first-generation college students, and 29% are from historically underrepresented groups. These impressive numbers reflect USC's commitment to making college more accessible and affordable for all, a top priority for USC President Carol Folt. Another priority for Carol Folt is transforming USC into a force for sustainability. In October, the university was awarded nearly $9 million for sustainability research projects, including those aimed at alternative energies, pollution reduction, and efforts to help shade LA neighborhoods to improve quality of life for all. Our world-class faculty and researchers continue to push the envelope in a wide range of disciplines. This past September, a USC Davis School of Gerontology study reported an exciting discovery: a mutation in a microprotein linked to a significant increase in the risk of Alzheimer's. This discovery highlights a potential target for treating this devastating illness. And then in November, our USC School of Pharmacy and the Department of Biomedical Engineering received a naming gift from the estate of Alfred Mann, the late innovator and physicist. These gifts will help expand USC's academic research activities in health sciences and engineering. Of course, none of this would be possible without all of your support. So on behalf of the university, I want to thank you for all that you do for USC and our beloved Trojan family. We hope today's program and other upcoming events will inspire you to stay involved with USC. So we're here today. Next month, thousands of Trojans around the world will participate in our annual USC Alumni Day of Service on Saturday, March 11th. It's a great opportunity to roll up your sleeves in your local neighborhoods and do community service projects in the name of USC. And then in June, guess what? Our Alumni Association will be marking our own special anniversary, our centennial. Yep, on June 21st, the same day that the summer solstice occurs, The USC Alumni Association will turn 100 years old. And yeah, round of applause for the Alumni Association. So what we're going to do, we're going to just, maybe pop a cork of champagne in the middle of campus. It's the middle of summer, we don't want to ask you to come to campus, but then all next year, all of our Alumni Association events, our Half Century Trojans events, they will all be celebrations of our centennial. Some really special opportunities for our Trojan family to come together. All of our volunteers who have ever served on any of our boards, and I know there's many of you in here, to come together so we can celebrate you, and we could really encourage the next century of volunteerism here at USC. So mark your calendars, and we'll be sending out emails as well. By staying connected with each other in USC, you inspire all of us to fulfill that never-ending promise of the Trojan family. So now, time to go to class. As Jay said, you don't have to take notes, don't worry about that. You can get a hall pass, the bathroom's out there if you need it, you don't have to worry about that. And you don't have to trek across campus. All your classes are right here in town and gown. After your third class session, we'll have lunch, and that will feature a guest speaker, Executive Senior Associate Athletic Director for Football Administration, Ed Stewart. Mike Bone woke up very ill this morning. So unfortunately he won't be here, but he's sending Ed Stewart, who oversees all football administration. We just hired Ed from the Big 12. So it's part of conference realignment, right here, right in front of you. So Ed will be very happy to speak with you, and again, Mike Bone does his regrets, but he is a fantastic Trojan already. He and his family are all in. They've shed the Big 12 for the Pac-12 for a year and a half, and then the Big 10. But we'll be really excited to hear from Mr. Stewart. So now, we're going to move on with our first class session, the USC Information Sciences Institute, Past, Present, and Future. And this will be taught by Dr. Craig Knoblock. Craig is on the faculty of our USC Viterbi School of Engineering, where he serves as the Keston Executive Director of the Information Sciences Institute, research professor of both computer science and spatial sciences, and vice dean of engineering. At USC, he leads a team of researchers, staff, and students in developing techniques for rapid, efficient information integration. After his presentation, he'll take some questions. So everyone, please join me in welcoming Craig Knoblock.
Great, thank you very much. Welcome everyone. He said there was no homework, but you are going to have to ask questions at the end of the talk, so you do have to listen. Okay, so I'm going to talk about the Information Science Institute, where I'm the executive director, and I'm going to cover in 15 minutes past, present, and future. And one of the reasons I think I was invited to give this talk is because ISI turned 50 years old just last year. And so I'm going to start with the past. So ISI, let me give you a little bit of the history of how ISI was actually founded here at USC. So it all started in 1967. Robert McNamara, who was then Secretary of Defense, commissioned a study called the Vietnam Study Task, or commissioned a task force called the Vietnam Study Task Force, and that was to be done at RAND. RAND, this was done over a period of over a number of years, and produced a 47-volume document that later became known as the Pentagon Papers. So during this study, there were a number of RAND analysts that worked on it, and some of the analysts, based on what they learned in the study, became somewhat disillusioned of the war effort because they felt that the administration had actually been systematically lying to the American public about it. One person in particular, Daniel Ellsberg, was particularly concerned about this. And in 1971, when he learned that Nixon planned to increase the war effort, he felt that he had to act. And he first went to several members of Congress and tried to convince them that this was wrong and they should do something about it. But because the report was classified and he was trying to give them a classified report that he didn't actually have permission to actually make available to anyone, they wisely said, I don't want to have anything to do with this. So then he turned to the New York Times and basically released 43 of the 47 volumes of this document to the New York Times. So that led to quite a scandal, as you probably may well remember, that it was on the front page of the New York Times for quite a while. And at the time, Nixon was president when this came out, and he was outraged about this. He said, "Okay, we're going to go after this Ellsberg guy." And so, in typical Nixon style, he basically had the plumbers, remember Watergate, he had them actually break into the psychiatrist office of Daniel Ellsberg to see if he could dig up some dirt on him that he could use in the court case instead. Of course, later the judge found out about this and threw out the case, so Ellsberg was actually never convicted of this. And furthermore, Nixon was even more upset that he didn't actually manage to go after Ellsberg. So then he decided to take it on a Rand. So the Department of Defense then cut the Rand budget significantly in 1972. And at that time, Rand had a very large computer science department. And that computer science department was working with DARPA, at the time it was called ARPA, the Advanced Research Project Agency. And they were doing some really important work, early networking kinds of stuff. And Keith Ungerfer was the department chair at Rand at that time. And when Rand told him that they were going to cut his budget by 50%, he went and told DARPA, or ARPA at the time, that he wouldn't actually be able to take all the money they wanted to give him to continue the work that they were doing. And so DARPA said, well, you need to find a new home. And so he first went to UCLA, and UCLA said, oh, we'd love to have a new institute. Yeah, you can come join us. It may take us 6 months to a year before we could actually get such a thing approved. And he didn't have that time. So then he came to USC. He met with the then provost at the time, Provost Skoprulian, and over dinner, convinced Skoprulian that they should start a new institute. Skoprulian said, okay, let's launch this. And he said, well, don't you need to ask the president? And he said, oh, no, I'll tell the president about his new research institute. And basically launched the institute within a week. So it was quite, a testament to USC that they could actually move so quickly to actually form the institute. So the institute was formed in 1972. A short time after it was formed, they actually got their first research contract from ARPA for something like $8 million, and launched it with 4 initial employees from Rand. But it turns out that really what happened was it wasn't just the 4 initial employees. I mean, so they started with 4. The institute has now grown to 422 employees over 3 different locations. So we have offices here in Marina del Rey, where the primary location is out along the water, Arlington, Virginia, and then Boston, Massachusetts. It started with 4, but then I think what happened very quickly is that a number of the people that were at Rand, in the computer science department, basically moved to the information science institute. And so within a year, they had about 70 employees working at the institute. So it grew very rapidly. And what I'm going to do now is show you a movie that we just made in honor of the 50th anniversary. And this is really just a short of the movie, because the movie's about an hour long. I know you only have 30 minutes in my talk, so I'm only going to show you a 7-minute version of the movie that gives you a brief summary of it, and then I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Institute and what it's doing currently and what it's going to do in the future. So we can go ahead and roll the movie.
On the shores of the Pacific at a tiny research institute, the Information Sciences Institute, which we know as ISI, tried to figure out how to connect every person in the world with a digital identity and access to each other's knowledge. The atmosphere was a lot of people wanted to do good work, solve a particular piece of the puzzle, and have the whole puzzle be, when assembled, be a kind of utopian view of how networking should happen.
How could computers interact with each other in interesting ways? Because people do that all the time, and maybe computers could do it in interesting ways.
The founders of the internet, they weren't just implementing arbitrary protocols. There was an architecture, there were principles.
FaceTime on your iPhone is using the session initiation protocol. Netflix is running the real-time transport protocol.
ISI was formed because of the Pentagon Papers. Daniel Ellsberg worked for the Rand Corporation, where all of the founders came from. The Nixon White House was very upset that those papers were leaked.
ARPA said to Keith Ungerfer, who was running the computer science department at Rand, find another place to operate and take, your best people with you. And he does. So USC ends up housing the Information Sciences Institute in Marina del Rey. They've got some of the best computer scientists in the world at ISI.
The leadership at the university understood the importance of computer science and was able to extrapolate into the future and was able to respond very quickly to the opportunity that came to be.
We were known as the engineers of the internet.
There was some crazy guys at ISI. Look at Postel. You've seen the pictures of Postel already.
He was so deeply involved in the technical aspects of the internet, and yet he was the kind of guy who was bearded and wore sandals. He was our resident hippie.
One of the people that ISI hired was a fellow named Danny Cohn.
He created Moses, which allowed people to start doing chip design remotely.
You know, I talked to colleagues all over the country. Many of them have told me about their experiences using Moses. It really was part of this whole revolution.
It's known as the Information Superhighway, a vast network of linked computers bringing the world directly into your home and business.
Everybody goes crazy because suddenly the internet looks like a magazine.
And welcome to this, the internet.
We find that the internet and the World Wide Web, they are powerful amplifiers. So we have this amplification problem where we amplify bad stuff and good stuff equally.
High alert in New York tonight for cyber attacks. That's the designation from high-ranking officials who say it is time to
There's a major hack taking place on Twitter targeting prominent accounts. It's all part of a Bitcoin scam.
It is often said that truth is the first casualty in any war.
It's not the case that nobody thought about cybersecurity on day one, but it is the case that some decisions were made either formally or implicitly to not put a lot of weight on it in day one, on the thought that maybe it would be better to get something working.
When people say, why didn't you have state-of-the-art security in the DNS way back when you designed it? I said, well, the Wright brothers didn't have a drink cart or a toilet in their first airplane.
We've created a cybersecurity experimentation testbed that can model what the real internet looks like and allow researchers to bring new cybersecurity solutions.
So we have a project right now called Civil Sanctuaries, where what we're trying to do is we're trying to deploy chatbots online to contend with the folks who are making the most noise, who are spreading the most invective online, but also to spread truth.
One of the great